Okay. I think we are live. Can you see it on YouTube, please? Hello, everyone. We are back with another Open Source Thursdays. And today we... okay, yeah. I was just listening to myself. It was a bit confusing.
Hello, everyone.
Hi. Yeah, so welcome. This is another Open Source Thursdays, and I'm Stephanie.
I'm Thiago.
And the Open Source Thursdays is a project from HackStevs where we contribute to Rails. We show the live work of navigating a large code base, debugging, and asking for help and contributing to Rails. It's a big project and it can be overwhelming to do it just by yourself. So the idea is to show a few tricks and tips here in these live sessions. And yeah, so for today, let us know where you're talking from, if you have contributed to an open source project before, and yeah, what are we going to do for this session today?
So today we can talk a little bit about our last session, which was great, by the way. We appreciate all the support from the community, and a bunch of people showed up. It was super cool. And we got together with Rafael França, who was a Rails Core team member, and he showed us how to get started contributing to Rails. He gave us a bunch of cool tips, some insider knowledge about how to get the code working, how to pick the first issue, how to choose an issue, because that's a big thing, right? People are afraid to pick an issue. They're not sure where to start.
Mm-hmm.
So he showed us how to do that. And if you haven't watched it yet, it's on our channel. We're going to leave the link for the previous session.
Mm-hmm.
And it was great because we got to fix a bug on the new Rails version, right? Rails 7.1, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a new feature coming up where you can, I guess you can like precompile some JavaScript assets or something.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a little bug where one of the files was required in the code. And so Rafael fixed the problem by moving that from the code to, I guess, the...
Generators?
No, it wasn't the generators. It was one of the files for JavaScript assets for SP Rockets.
Oh, manifest?
Yeah, manifest. So he did that. He moved things around, and then he showed us how to run the generator.
Mm-hmm.
And see what was going on, see if the file he wanted was getting generated correctly. And then he did some TDD as well, which was pretty cool. So he wanted to make sure that the file had the line that he wanted.
Mm-hmm.
So he did that, and it was pretty cool. Another thing that he did was he had a remote dev environment, and people got super interested in that sort of stuff. So I guess this week GitHub launched Code Spaces,
Mm-hmm.
which is a remote dev environment on the cloud, which is pretty interesting. So and then people were asking us, oh, how does Rafael do that? How does that work? So that was pretty cool as well. And yeah, and so for today, what we want to do this little recap, see what we've learned from last week, and then use that to pick a new issue to work on. Because if you've been following us for a while, we fix an issue on Rails and we have the pull request up, but we're still waiting for a review, another review. They gave us some feedback. We things around. But yeah, now we're going to use the things that we've learned last week to pick another issue and get started. So Rafael gave us some ideas on what kinds of issues are good to pick. And if you can see here, yeah, so this is from our last sessions, the disk service routes. So we have the PR up. We're still waiting for a review on that. Yeah, we're still waiting. And so now what we want to do is pick another issue. And so if you, what we could do, we could pick a good first issue, but not sure. Let's we have a list. Maybe let me share this list here.
We have a few people in the chat that I didn't see. Sorry, everyone. We have so if you go in the chat, yes. Hi, sorry, I forgot to see the comments.
Hello, Julian. Julian, I guess.
Yeah, awesome. So thank you, everyone. Julian, Debashis, Charles, welcome. We're happy to have you here today. Maybe we can just, do you want to just talk a little bit about the
thank you
about the issue that we worked on?
Yeah, so I was showing them the issue that we were working on before, and the pull request is up.
So maybe you can drop.
Yeah, you can even check that out if you're interested. So that was the
that's the pull request, and how we got to open that pull request is we went to the issues list, and then we tried to find an issue that had the reproduction steps, because that was easier for us to get started, right? You have this happening, and then you try to fix it.
So this was the issue.
Yeah. In the pull request, you can see the link to the issue. And then what happened was it took us way longer than we imagined to kind of fix it. But honestly, it was great because we learned a lot. And so we opened the pull request, then we got the review, then we worked on the review. And then someone else, I think Zachary, suggested another solution. But that other solution, he said, he proposed another solution that would be more simple to solve. But to go with that path, they would need to discuss that solution internally. And then what we did was, okay, so while they're discussing it, let's just finish the pull request that we had opened. And so that's where we are right now. We have the open pull request. We are waiting for feedback. We made sure that the tests are passing. But something that happened is, it looks like right now to run the tests, it has to be approved by one of the maintainers, which is actually good, because running the tests, the entire Rails test suite, can be pretty expensive, right?
It looks like it passed.
Oh, it passed? Oh, okay. So that's
maybe
good.
There was some, or maybe it was an old one.
Maybe that's Tuesday. Okay.
Yeah, not sure. We have to check. But now they have this workflow waiting approval thing. I think it's a new thing, because before we would just open the pull request and it would just run CI for us.
Yeah. The only way that you could skip running CI was to add a CI skip in the pull request or in the commit, but it was up to the person, right? And I think that this way it's easier.
No, it's a different thing. So CI skip is when you don't want to run the CI, because maybe you're just trying something, so you know it's broken, so you want to skip the CI so you don't have to wait for it. But this thing is more like they want to approve workflow. Yeah, they want to approve people so people don't start running CI all the time for no reason. It's a good thing. You don't want to waste money.
Yeah. Okay. So I hope that was a good recap where we left things. And the session with Rafael had a perfect timing because it just happened that now we don't have any issues to work on. So we will try to follow the tips that he shared, and we can even share the issues with you. So it might be that we find more than one good issue to get started, and then we can share, and one of you can work on it. I think that would be great. So all right, so let's get it started.
Yeah, so I was just wanted to show them some of the tips that
Mm-hmm.
Rafael gave us. We even tweeted about it.
Yeah.
And so he said, pick one issue from good first issues, right? So this is one option. So this is the list. So these are the issues labeled as good first issue.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're good for beginners because they might be simpler or easier to understand.
Mm-hmm. Make the sound on the table.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
So let's see. Security guide.
Yeah. Maybe do you want to give an overview of the 5 ways, and then we choose one?
Yeah, so this is one way, picking a good first issue, a label as that. Then the second way is pick an issue label with reproduction steps.
So I think, can we increase the font and make it full? Okay. I don't know if it's good to read. Okay, I think it's better this way.
Yeah, so pick an issue label with reproduction steps. So that's another way to do it. It's good because you have a way to reproduce the issue, and then you know what's going on.
Yeah.
And you can work on the bug, you can try to fix the issue, and use the reproduction steps to confirm, to see, okay, so this is a real issue. I was able to fix the bug. And then it's kind of like a test, right? So
yeah.
That's one thing you can do.
You can even write another reproduction steps with your fix, pointing to your branch, which is what we did. So
yeah, you can use the same one and just use a different Rails version, the one that you're working on, the branch that you're working on, and then you just run it and see.
Yeah.
That's what we've done in the past. And then the other one is fix bugs that you find yourself. So you're working on an app and then you find a bug on the framework itself. And then you can fix it, but we're not going to do that now because we have to find one. Another thing you can do to help is check if a new issue is valid by adding the reproduction steps. So some of the issues don't have it. Maybe let me show that. So if you go on the issues here, some of them don't have reproduction steps, right? Probably the newer issues don't have it, or maybe people don't do it. So you can try and do that. Well, like this one has it, but this one doesn't have it. So we could pick one of them and try to reproduce the error. So you open the issue, try to understand what's going on, then try to reproduce the bug. If you can't reproduce, maybe you can ask questions.
Yeah.
Say, hey, I tried to reproduce the bug, but I couldn't do it, couldn't find it. Because sometimes it's not that the bug doesn't exist, it's just that you couldn't reproduce it. Right?
Yeah.
Maybe it's a very specific version of Rails or some dependency. So that's another thing you can do. Do you want to comment or not? Should
I think I have more comments. So. Okay, awesome. Yes, thanks.
So and then if you're if you're a person that just wants to get started and don't want to wait or anything, you can always just pick one issue and see what happens, right? You can always pick one, see what's going on. As long as no one else is working on the same issue, it should be fine. There are plenty of issues to work on. So if you see here, there's a bunch of them. And yeah, also don't work on issues that have an open pull request because it doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
So if no one is working on the issue, there's no open pull request, you can always pick that issue and try to fix the bug.
Yeah.
Or even if it's not a bug, you can answer the person and say, hey, this is not really a bug, this is expected. So if you have some context around that specific problem, you can always just explain things, I guess. So that's another way to help. But yeah, so that's what you can do to contribute.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's an overview, and let us know if anyone has any questions in the comments. So can you tell if someone... Okay, maybe I can... Yeah, that's a good question, Charles. Can you tell if someone is looking at an issue even though there is no PR yet? I think...
So you can always look at the issue and see the comments.
Yeah.
Because usually people say, oh, we are working on this.
Mm-hmm.
And Rafael said that if it's a big problem, a bug or something like security issue, they will probably fix it themselves. The Rails team will fix it because it's urgent, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you can always check the comments and see, oh, is someone else working on this? You can always ask as well. So, hey, I want to work on this. If no one else is working on it, I'd like to work on it. And usually people say, oh, go ahead, or they won't say anything. So that means you're free to do it.
And even if someone has said, for example, oh, I will work on this issue, I have seen a lot people coming back to comment on the issue and ask, hey, are you still working on this issue? Like, do you need help with anything? And if you do have some feedback on the issue, you can also drop a comment and say that you can help the person. And yeah, that is also useful.
Yeah, another thing that Rafael said last week was that sometimes two people might work on the same issue and provide pull requests for the same thing.
Yeah.
And then they try to merge the two things, or they might say, oh, you two should work together and collaborate. And you have to understand that it's completely remote, it's completely open source. So you can't just ping someone and say, hey, I want to work on this. Or there's no stand up every day or anything like that. So you have to communicate using GitHub. You can also go to Rails forum to ask as well. But I think probably the repo is the best way to ask those types of questions. But maybe we can see if let's see if we can find one that is people are working on. Usually you might have some reproduction steps.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
So let's see here. Good first issue. So see, I'm willing to give this a try. Can I be assigned? Go ahead and make a PR. So that way, okay, we're not going to work on that because someone else is working on it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's good to know, because actually I was going to... I think that now we can go back to the good first issues. And I'm actually curious why they are still open, because usually those get closed really fast.
Well, I guess that one was that the first good first issue. I don't remember. I guess the person's still working on it. It was yesterday.
Okay.
So it should be fine. So we want to look at the other ones.
So
they have,
they have some comments.
Yeah, so this one, no. Let's look at this one. No, it specifies password for a socket. Interesting. Yeah, so let's see if someone else is working on this. So it looks like no one is working on this,
Yeah, there's no one.
but someone else mentioned this issue here.
Ah, okay.
Let's see. Previously, this blah blah blah.
Wow.
Can add a
Okay.
test. And maybe let's try to understand this issue first.
Mm-hmm.
No way to specify a password for a socket Postgres database URL. Postgres connection info URI is not a valid implementation. So Postgres expects this type of URI
Mm.
for the connection, and then host vectors checks this thing. But then I guess the RFC definition is different, maybe. User
Mm.
info add something, host add port. PG has an optional host. If the host is not specified, it uses the socket. That means this is a valid PG connection URI,
Mm.
user password. But maybe it's not working. Oh, interesting. So it seems that the Postgres has a different way. So you can use a socket instead of a host.
Mm.
It is optional. And if you try to run this, it gives you an error. The scheme does not accept registry part or bad hosting. However, PG also allows for query parents, which is another specification, so you can pass query parameters. This gives a different issue. The password is overridden with URI password, which is new. Interesting. So it's not picking the query parameters that
Mm.
contains the password and is using something else to do it. So it's overriding the password or something. And so the person says this, saying this is what I would expect. So active record, you just give it a URL config, passing this URL here, which I
Mm.
guess has a socket here, and then you would expect it to be valid with the config you're passing
Mm-hmm.
in, and this should also be valid
Mm-hmm.
according to the person. This should also be valid. You pass query parameters, you pass user and password to Postgres, and it's gonna
Mm.
understand it, and you still get the right values.
Mm-hmm.
But the actual behavior, so I guess it's the same thing, but you get an error here. Scheme does not accept. Yeah, this is a scheme validation or
Mm.
something. And then here it doesn't get the password. See, it doesn't get the
Mm.
password, just the adapter gets the user, but the password, because I assume it's trying to get the password from this part of the URL.
Mm-hmm.
But this guy here for Postgres, it's expecting it allows you to pass it like this. That's an interesting problem. This came up as a Stack Overflow question 6 years ago.
Oh.
So maybe it is expected behavior. They
Mm.
didn't want to fix it for some reason. But let's keep reading. So there's the question from 6 years ago. Query parents would be a fine workaround. What do you think of reversing the merge and connection URL resolver? So I guess there was a
Mm.
merge. Some
Let's
code was
see.
merged April, and that changed things maybe. We'll have to look at this, but so there was a merge that maybe broke something. I don't know.
Mm.
Note the port has the same issue. Rails 6, Ruby 3. Okay. Need attention and credentials to not showing output on the plug application. So I don't know. Does that mean that
Mm.
they want to reverse the merge? Because what do you think about reversing the merge? But no one said anything, so I'm not sure.
Yeah.
It's an it's not that new. 28 ago.
28. Yeah,
Yeah.
but what? But there are a lot of discussion in the other PR in the mission.
Here?
Yeah,
Okay, so let's look at that. So this is from 21 days ago.
yeah,
Allow PG query parent.
yeah. It's the same. So I think that's a PR for that issue. Although,
Mm.
yes, well, it makes sense, right? PG socket password. That's just what we read.
Here he's talking about the parents. Let's see. So here he's talking about the parents, right?
Yeah.
Was returning this. The password was returning new because your request was new. Merging the hashes resulted in the above result. This PR fixed it and now returns the password correctly.
Mhm.
Cool. Issue. That was the one we're looking at, right?
I think so.
Returning
Yeah.
server.
I just
Yeah.
I don't know why it's not linked. But
Issue
anyway,
blah 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 mentions this. This is an issue, right?
no, that's a pull
Oh, that's a
request.
pull request.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. So
it
that one
should be
already.
mentioned here, right? Oh, it was mentioned. So yeah,
Yeah.
there's a pull request up for this. So
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. No, I see. I thought this was an issue.
Yeah. Me
But it's a
too.
pull request.
But you see that did say this person mentioned this issue, and for some reason it wasn't clear that it was a pull request because
Yeah, we forgot to look at this.
yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
because I saw this, I thought, oh, this is an issue. No, but this is a pull request, so
Yeah.
it's probably fixing this problem. And then let's see. It throws an error, the scheme, because it is not valid. And it is how to fix. So this is, I guess, another thing. Yeah, so I guess he fixed the query parameters issue, but this stuff here is still broken. So the scheme, I guess the scheme validation.
I think it's the same error. It's just that I think this PR is related to that issue.
Mhm.
It just wasn't properly linked, I think. But you can see that it has a lot of discussion on that already.
Here?
Yeah, in the PR.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I would assume that they are already working on that. So
Yeah.
maybe makes no sense to work on that.
Yeah, and they already got lots of reviews.
Friendly bump.
Friendly.
Interesting. Yeah, I guess there's a change
Yeah,
log.
and you can see that people are guiding the person to add what's missing. For example, the test, the change log.
So I guess it's ready. Yeah, so
Yeah, that's good.
let's leave that. But it's interesting. So they don't merge it right away, right? The PR seems to be ready, I guess.
Yeah, it might. I don't know.
So person reviewed. This looks good to me. Can you add a change log?
Mm-hmm.
This person added a change log. Reconcile review. Is there anything left? And then there was a little comment here. Yeah, I guess should be ready. They might merge it later.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's
So
leave that. Let's look
one
at
of
something
the.
else.
So what are the other ones in the good first issues?
Good first issue.
Maybe we could just like rule those out and yeah, that's the one that we already saw.
Yeah, let me just pick the logo here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this, someone's working on this. This has a PR up. Let's look at this one. There's a bunch of comments here, so probably someone is working on this,
Yeah.
but let's look.
Hi, Mike.
Hey, Mike. PH is the best. Okay. As a follow-up, you need a linter to make sure that any new code going to Rails fails a Robocop rule if it does not use OpenSSL digest, instead uses digest. So maybe it's a different method for SSL.
Yeah.
I'd like to look at this. Yeah, I guess person's working on this. Interesting. So
Oh yeah. So if you go down, someone else wanted to also work on it, and then they are like trying to collaborate on it. So that's a good example of making that work. Okay, so I think one thing that I learned is that you can't assign the issue yourself. I think that someone from the core team needs to assign you.
You have to ask to be assigned, but I guess you don't always get assigned for an issue.
I don't think so. Okay, so that ruled out
all of the good first
issues. And Mike is asking a question. Yeah. If it is a small change, is it something cool to jump on and make a PR for? If it is a small change, it is something cool to jump on. Do you mean if there isn't anyone working on it?
I think he's saying if it's a small change, is it cool to add some code?
I think
even if someone else is assigned, I guess so. But it depends. So Rafael said that they don't like cosmetic changes. So if it's something small, but it's still an issue or a bug, it's okay. But if it's just like linting or white space or small refactoring, sometimes they don't accept it.
Yeah, but I think that, for example, if there is someone that said, yes, I'm working on it, and you know how to quickly fix it, I would still, like, personally, I would send a message before, like, hey, are you still working on this? Do you need help? I think I have a solution. Would you like to collaborate? And then if the person doesn't answer, I think it's like one of these things, like etiquette. Yeah, it's kind of hard to.
I just totally YOLO it. No, wait.
Yeah.
He said something else. That's. If someone else is assigned and I know the fix, can I go ahead and make the PR? I think it wouldn't be good etiquette in that case.
Yeah.
Unless it's been a while. So say it's been a long time. Because see, someone is already wants to work on that, and then if you just jump in and say, hey, yo, stop what you're doing and know how to fix it. But you can always ask, do you want help or do you want to work together? Right? Because it also gives the person the opportunity to contribute as well, right? So maybe you could say, hey, do you want a pair or something?
Yeah.
That could be.
I think that would be something that would be better for everyone, Mike. I don't know. But that's my experience, and also it might be the first time that the person is contributing, and they might think, oh, I'm slow here. They might see that. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to know, but I would just drop a comment and have your fix ready on your side, and reach out to the person. I think that might be a common thing there in Rails.
So Charles is asking an interesting question. Is there a Robocop config file I need to use for Rails PR? That's a great question. So they do have a Robocop file on the repository here. So you can just use that. So if you run Robocop-A, I guess, it should auto-fix the problems. So you don't need to use your own Robocop file.
We just have been running Robocop-A to automatically fix everything. It does fail the GitHub action, so it is important, but you can always just run it. Yeah.
Do you wanna?
Okay.
I guess. Do you wanna show it, or I
We
can
can
share?
show it.
Let me see
Yeah.
here. Share screen. This one.
So.
And this
Mhm.
one. Okay, so it's too small.
Yeah, Mike. I think honestly, these things you learn like by observing the community a bit, and yeah, like think how would I like that someone had approached this if it was me, right? It's always a good opportunity to learn.
Yeah. So what we were saying, Rubocop dash
Not
A,
Jay. Yeah.
and then it should fix any problems.
Mm-hmm.
I should have done this on.
Yeah, maybe
Just
do this just in one file.
yeah. Anyway, but yeah, it should fix the problems
Yeah.
for you. So let me move back to this guy here.
Okay.
So Mike,
Impatient. Yeah, me too. I don't know if you can see, but I am.
very impatient.
Yeah.
So yeah, so if we don't have good first issues, maybe we can do something else.
Mm-hmm.
So let's take a look at another option.
Yeah.
Surfaces here. So what we could do is look at issues with reproduction steps available. So it's this thing here.
Mm-hmm.
And then see if there's something interesting.
Yeah. So there are a lot of comments in there. Yeah. Okay.
I think there's a way to remove the ones that have open
Pull
pull requests, but I have
request.
to look. I'm not sure. But there's probably a way to filter them out, like these ones. I don't want to look at
Mm-hmm.
them. But yeah, let's look at them. Let's see this one. Two frameworks task gets undefined on MySQL. Since it was merged, define MySQL. Blah, blah, blah.
Steps to reproduce.
Is he saying that the test is not working? Interesting. So do they merge broken? Because the CI is not passing, they shouldn't merge, right? But I don't know. Blah, blah, blah. Thanks for reporting this issue. Looking at those two Rails tests, they are trying to start a connection to the database and expecting a connection failure. Can't connect to MySQL on localhost. Here's the config. Both tests are failing because of the conditional check. There's a check for the error. Yeah, so it's probably a check on the exception, I guess, the error. If it's a connection error or unknown host error, and the error number is okay, so the error number is one of these two. They will raise this specific error. I'm going to dig into those two tests if I can find out what's happening. I would guess so there's an open PR for that.
Yeah. Okay. Honestly, when we just looked at the issues with reproduction steps, I think it's going to take a long time until we choose one. It's already 39 minutes.
But what we can always do
Chris.
Hey Chris.
Welcome.
So what we could do, which I think is a good idea, well, it's my idea, so I'm gonna say it's a good idea. We could look at the issues that don't have a lot of comments, that don't have open PR, and that look interesting. So maybe on the second page, we could find something cool.
Because the last time that we filtered the issue, it didn't have that much activity. So right now we will have to be more specific, I guess. More creative.
This might be interesting. Let's see this one. Test case messes up encoding of hashes in routes if the hash is set as a defaults option on the route. So there are steps. So you have a route with some defaults in controller specs. So there's a test for that. The test should pass. The code blows up in our controller code when parents, filters, anything is accessed. Oh, so you try to access the hash of parameters and then it blows up. The parents filters is set to a string. Oh, it's a string instead of a hash, I guess. Why? Because of code in action controller, test case runs the parameter through to parent. If it seems to be a core parent of the route, which the defaults are bring to the site. So if it's part of defaults on the route, it runs this method to parent, and then it transforms them into a string instead of a hash, I would guess. And then what is this? Is this the code? Okay.
I think that before we get into the issue, maybe let's see if there's already someone working on it, because otherwise we will, looking into okay. Oh, but this is a very old issue.
Oh, 2016. Oh yeah, so this is one thing that we've learned in the past is to not look at the very old issues.
Yeah.
So maybe the third, was that the third?
Oh. So Ash. So Ash, you're gonna have to send me a voice text telling me how to say your name. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. But they're saying that they found an issue that we could probably look at.
Nice.
Oh, that's nice. Please share. Is there a tag that says we need a test for this one? I'm not aware of that.
So you mean like a tag? We could look at the
We can look
labels.
at the labels.
There's so many. Test?
I don't know that. But that's a good idea. Like the person has a solution but doesn't have the test. So there is a needs work.
Pull request? Oh, needs work? Interesting. Oops. Let's see here. Needs work. They're pretty old.
Yeah, they're pretty.
I think they're using that anymore. So some people are saying some stuff.
Oh yeah. Go Rails.
Thanks, Chris Oliver, for Go Rails. Yeah, we're big fans of Chris Oliver here. Go check out Go Rails. You can learn a lot. And what else? You can call me Ash. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you. Will do.
Do you guys have a video where you explain the architecture of a framework, Rails? It would be great to watch.
We don't.
We don't have an explanation of how the framework works, but there are a couple of courses and videos about that.
Like Go Rails?
Yeah, Go Rails probably has a bunch of stuff related to that. But there's also, I remember there's a book or a course called Rebuilding Rails, I believe, where the person teaches you how to build your own Rails framework from scratch, which can be an interesting exercise. Then if you kind of rebuild, you're not going to rebuild everything, of course, but just the most important parts of it. And then you're going to learn how it works, right? That's probably the best way to learn. But it might take some time, right?
Yeah.
But I believe it's Rebuilding Rails.
Rebuilding Rails.
Yeah. It's from Noah Gibbs. So you can check that out if you want.
Yeah. But maybe Chris Oliver can share something. I'm sure he has more experience with that than us. Okay. So, Ash, Can you share the issue? Because what we have done last time is not working this time. There are lots of people are already signing up for the reproduction steps, which is good, right? That's what we want. We want people contributing.
Yeah.
But then now our our approach is not working. I mean, we run out of issues to work. So maybe what is the next thing that
Yeah, so
Rafael...
Chris Oliver is saying Rebuilding Rails by Noah Gibbs, who is awesome. So go check that out.
Yeah.
We should invite Chris sometime to pair with us. That would be super cool. Can show us some cool tips.
Yeah. Wanted to do some screencasts on building framework like Rails or anything. I will go around to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds an interesting exercise, because if you build it from scratch, you can learn a lot, right?
Yeah.
Especially meta programming, you know, how to do stuff. So it would be really cool. There's a book called, I'm gonna forget now, but there's a book called, it's something like 500 lines of code or less, something like that, where they build something in about 500 lines of code or less, and it's always something complicated. So for example, build a database in 500 lines of code or less, and then you can try to build your own database in, I don't know, Python, and then you learn how it works, right?
Yeah.
And then there's probably one about frameworks. So it's a book. I can share that on Twitter later. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Let's schedule something, Chris.
Yeah. All right. So how do you want to move forward? I wonder if right now, well, there is that one, prepare statements is not enabled by default.
Which one?
So this one has no activity. It has no comments and no pull requests. Do they have the reproduction steps? They don't. So that might be something.
Yeah, so okay. So prepare statements is similar to a procedure, right? So in other types of databases, you call them procedures. In Postgres, I think you call them functions, but it's just some code, like some code that you store on the database that you run. So prepare statements is not enabled by default with MySQL 2 adapter. It took me a long time to figure out prepared statements is disabled because of my database adapter is different in my new project. Change the adapter in database YAML, and you'll find prepared statement is enabled in SQLite 3, Postgres, but is disabled in MySQL 2 by default. Interesting. It was added in... Okay, so they added the support to prepared statements on this PR, I guess, from, I don't know, from 2016. That's a long time ago. But it seems to be disabled by default. Okay. Should we make the default of prepared statements be true? Maybe in the next major Rails version to keep the behavior consistent. So I think the person is saying for other types of databases, it's enabled by default, but just for MySQL, it's not enabled. Just kind of interesting. Maybe they forgot about it, or maybe there's a good reason. We don't know. The feature was supported by MySQL 5 years ago. We should have confidence in it now. Oh, so maybe it's kind of, it was a new thing 5 years ago, so they weren't confident in the feature. But now it's been 5 years, so maybe you can just enable it by default. So expect prepared statement is enabled by default. Actual behavior is disabled. It's probably something like a flag change on some configuration somewhere, some code somewhere.
Yeah.
We could work on that. That seems like an interesting issue. There's probably an easy way to reproduce.
Yeah.
Let's see what people are saying.
So Ash said, just checking if you received the issue link I just sent. No.
Oh.
Where? Sorry, where was that?
Maybe it's on YouTube, but not on StreamYard. Let's see here.
That's maybe StreamYard doesn't show. So just a second, sir.
Can you see it?
I can't. Oh, I wonder if people can't share links.
Oh, I see.
I'm not super familiar with this.
Maybe you can say maybe the name.
Yeah.
Paste the name of the issue and we can look for it.
If you can share the issue of the number, perhaps.
Yeah, maybe the number or the name of the issue.
Yeah, sorry, I don't see it.
Because issues always have a number.
Yeah.
So you could just say number X. ID, sorry, not the number. What else? Let's see.
The chars. Is that because there are bugs in prepared on SQLite too? I have no idea. So
the issue is on MySQL.
Yeah.
So it's not really an issue. Is it an issue? It's just that the default is false for some reason. Maybe what he's trying to say is that maybe this feature is not perfect, has some problems. So I don't have a context on that to be able to say yes or no. But we can always ask and say, hey, we can work on this. Let us know if this is a valid change. Yeah. Because people that have more context about the project, they will tell us, oh no, don't do this or do this. Yeah. And it is interesting because the first issue is related to the same context, like prepared statements in MySQL. So maybe we can get some context from these other issue. Oh, so there's a bunch of stuff here. Yeah. Right? There are reproduction steps here. And not to be invoked, but is this statement? But I think it's not it's not related to default. It's something else, but it has some connection, I would guess. Can you be more specific about memory issues? Can I understand the cool about memory issues this has? Maybe you should tackle the root cause. The root cause seems to be what where ID, where blah 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 generates. So it generates some SQL code and that gives some memory issues. Note how ID was parameterized but created wasn't. Oh, I see. So so when you add the backticks, you're parameterizing the query, but here there's no backtick, so there's maybe some little problem, little bug specific for prepared statements, maybe. Because I know that it works when you're doing normal queries, but maybe this is related to prepared statements. So each invocation will prepare a new query. Oh, so each invocation. So when maybe what happens is whenever you call where, you're preparing a different statement, maybe. And then when you prepare a new one, you use more memory. So that's a guess. I don't know. I'm just assuming. Okay. So Ash gave the issue. Let's take a look at that one. I think that the other one might be the first one about the prepared statements on MySQL. But at least we can wrap up this one with adding a comment there and asking if there is any suggestion how to move forward. You mean which one? This one? Yeah. So let's say, what do you want to say? We would like to work on this. Yeah, we would like to work on this. And add and change the default. Yeah. Change the default. I just wonder if this one would it need be okay or Is there any discussion?
Yeah, exactly. Like, because I wonder if this is more a thing that needs to be approved before,
Yeah, let's just
right?
comment. People will tell us.
Yeah,
It's easier to ask.
yeah. But it does look promising. That one.
Yeah.
Um,
And then do you want to take a look at this other one?
yeah.
The
Let's do
4.2.
it.
Just 4.2. 727.
42727.
Thanks for contributing, Ash.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Action view template error undefined method is raised with Rails 6 and prepend view path with config cache classes false.
Okay.
So it's probably you configure this thing to false and then you get some undefined method error. So let's just first take a look at the
Do you
comments.
happen to know? Oh, so there. I think that one's great way to contribute with this one is to test with Rails 6.1, right? Because this person is asking if this happened also on 6.1. So that is a good one, Ash. I think, yeah, that would be a great way to get started, like testing that one, reproducing the steps in that specific version and sharing what you find.
Yeah, so there still includes 6.1, so but not 6.0. So we could reproduce the error on 6.1, and if it's still an error, we can try to fix it as well.
Yeah.
We could start with, but sometimes there are reproduction steps, right?
Yeah.
But it's not for, it's for
Yeah.
6.0. Okay.
Yeah,
we could change that to 6.1.
Yeah,
no, I
which
get it.
is one of the things that even Rafael said. Like they want it is helpful to know if this is actually an issue or not. So
Yeah.
I think this one looks also promising. Like while we wait the other one.
Yeah.
So maybe we can just get a review of the issue, make sure that we all understand it, and I wonder if we can also bring someone here next week to work on this together. I think it would be nice.
That would be cool. So what I understand is, well, let me read. Action view says problem if it's raising an error on action view template on Rails 6 when prepend view path, and then you have this configuration set to false. So Rails 6.04 use prepend view path to switch between two versions of the design. Some view files have the same path with different namespace. Okay. For example, there's app views home index and app views v2 home index. So it just changes the namespace for the view. On config environments development, there's config cache classes false, and config action view cache template loading false. So this goes on the development config file. And then the person says, changes in view files have to be visible without restarting the server. Yeah, that's expected, right? You change the view and you don't need to restart the server.
Can you just focus on, okay.
Actual behavior. Oops. The view file is correctly compiled on first load, but if we change a view file, action view,
the error is defined.
The method is raised. Interesting. The error happens because the compile method, the value of the compile variable is set to true, so the method isn't created in the view context. Okay. I changed config action view cache template loading to true, and it fixes the issue, but I have to restart the server every time I change a view, which is not fun. So whenever you change the view, you have to restart the server. It's not cool.
Yeah.
this ugly patch does the job by always compiling templates, which not it's not what you want. You want to use the configuration and not always recompile templates. But yeah, this patch fixes the problem. If it's in development, it's not. Yeah. This issue is very similar to this one, but I have no error on test environment.
So let's.
And then the person saying, do you happen to know if it's an issue on 6.1? Yeah, if you had the little application that, but maybe it's not, because you could write the reproduction steps as the little app, the little inline app. But what he's saying is you have to change the view file and not see the error, which I don't think you can reproduce that with, like, I don't think you can unit test that. So that's why you have to create an app and do that and change it and see what happens. See what I mean? So you can't really, I don't think you can unit test that. You have to just try it out and see what happens.
Yeah. So let me share the issue here with everyone. So they have this. Is it? Okay. So they just said that it was similar to this one, but this one was happening in the test.
Yeah, it seems to be a regression. So it's probably a fix for this, but not for 6.1.
Right.
Maybe it's
a
newer version.
So thanks for the detail. Yeah, it wasn't that long ago. Oh, okay. So this one was a wow.
But they merged something?
Yeah, it was merged, and then this seems to be happening now in development. So okay.
But only on Rails 6.
On Rails 6. Okay, so don't clear view cache during concurrent requests. Okay, I think honestly this one looks like first of all, we can at least try to reproduce it on Rails 6.01.
6.1, yeah.
And I guess that is that seems like a good way to wrap up today's, because that was our goal, was to try to just choose the next one.
So what happens if you have a regression error? Because I guess this should fix the issue for newer versions. But what happens with the old ones? Do you have to... Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to check how that works. But it's an interesting problem. Because see, the person used a lock to fix the cache. Yeah, concurrent requests. Maybe you have like concurrent requests running, and then you don't refresh the template on one of them. So you're using a lock here for that, and then you have a cache thing that expires. But I don't know if this is being applied to the old newest version. Yeah, it's an interesting problem. It's kind of cool.
All right. So Charles said, can't the generators allow us to change the views? I mean, for the test case.
So the generator will generate the view. But what I think the issue is that you have the server running in development, right? And when you change the code for the view on development, the template gets recompiled at runtime. So you have a server running, you change the file, and then the server sees that the file was changed and it kind of recompiles the template. But the person is saying that gives that throws an error, right?
Yeah.
So the generator only runs when you generate the view, right?
Yeah.
So let's say we write a test that generates a view and then runs it again and generates a slightly different view, but you still need to be running the server
Yeah.
to get that error. So it's like a concurrency issue, it seems. What you could do, that would be a complicated test, but you could run a Rails server and you could have your test change the view and see that the server is not throwing the error, and then you have to look at the output from the server. So that's probably a way to test, but it would be very complicated. I don't think it's worth it just for reproduction steps.
Yeah.
But yes, there's probably a way to do it, but it would be super complicated. I don't think it's worth it. But there's always a way to do stuff, you know?
Huh. Yeah.
Yeah, like a very complicated test case.
Mm-hmm.
But I think in this case, it's just easier to we create a Rails 6.1 app.
Mm-hmm.
We run the server with those views. We change the view and we see the error output. And then we can say, okay, there's a bug.
Yeah.
And then we can say here, we were able to reproduce this problem on Rails 6.1. And then afterwards, we might try to fix the problem.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a good way to wrap up today's. And so while we wait for the comment on the other one that we are not sure it's a decision that they want to move forward, we can maybe next Thursday try to reproduce that error in 6.1.
Do you want to comment something here or not needed?
I think honestly Ash was the one that found it. I wonder if you want to comment there, Ash, and
try it out.
Yeah, try it out. I think, or if you would like to do it with us next week, like up to you, actually.
Because I see how. So you pretty much what you're going to do. You're going to do the same thing he's describing here. So create a Rails 6. So in this case, it will be a Rails 6.1 app. You create the app. And then you create those two views here. And then you go on the config file and set cache classes false, cache templating false. And then you run the server. You change the view. And then you try to open the view, I guess, on the browser and see if you get this error the person is saying. This might be tricky though, because it's kind of a concurrency issue. So maybe you have to try multiple times to get the error.
Yeah.
So it's kind of tricky. It's not very obvious, but you could try it out. That could be an interesting problem.
Yeah, I think that any results that you get are useful to document, and then all of these are useful to share in the issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, many people saying stuff.
So Julian says, I understand that there are multiple versions and some like to use older ones. Being that all maintainers probably have lots of work to do. Is it possible to fix some issues for a specific machine without making a PR on GitHub?
Yeah, so what the person is saying here, so if we look here on one of the comments.
They made a patch.
So if you look here, the person solved the problem by writing this little patch. So what this thing is doing, so we call this a monkey patch. What it does is it just adds some code that kind of overrides some of the code of the Rails framework. So let's say there's a class, module. Yeah, there's a module always compile, I guess, somewhere. Well, no, it is something related to action view template. So there's something there that has the bug. You write this module and you kind of overwrites the compile method on that module. And so you're patching the issue, and then you keep that on your Rails app, that you're working on. And that's going to overwrite the behavior of the framework. So that's how you fix the issue yourself without having to change the Rails code base. And that happens if you're running an older version of Rails. And for example, you have a security issue that they're not going to fix for Rails 4, for example. What sometimes you have to do is you have to patch it yourself. And then that can be a problem sometimes, because when you move to a new version of Rails, you have to look at all the patches you've done and see if they are still needed or not, maybe remove them. But yeah, that's one way to do it. Which is Ruby. Ruby allows you to kind of overwrite things and monkey patch things. But yeah, that's how you would do it. I hope I answered your question.
I think, so Ash said, yes, awesome. Let us know how it goes, and if you would like to share anything next week. Don't forget to look at the one that was merged. You might find lots of context there. All right. So where to put the patch for the workaround?
You mean this patch here? So you can probably maybe that's a good question. Maybe on it needs to be in a place that gets executed when you start running the app. So maybe environment, maybe sorry.
No, I was going to say what is the current implementation of that one? Like, there's a link in there.
Here?
No, in the pull request, there's a link, action view template compile. Like, that might lead to where that is called.
I mean, you can put it anywhere, but you have to do this. Let's go back.
The issue.
You need to run this somewhere, because like this patch, it's just a file, right? It's just a Ruby file. You can put it somewhere. Usually you put it on lib/lib or app/lib. And you have to run this code here, because this will copy this code over and prepend to this module here. So you're just running and prepending the code, and it's gonna kind of overwrite things on the framework. But yeah, it's pretty much, you just have to run this somewhere. So I think if you put it on lib, I'm pretty sure app/lib, the files there get loaded by default on the new Rails versions. And so if the file gets loaded, it's going to execute this thing, and then it should work. But maybe there's a good practice for monkey patch. We could take a look, but maybe there's a good practice for monkey patches. But I'm pretty sure if you put on app/lib, it should just work.
That's a good question. How do you handle the monkey patches? Nice.
Let's see what else.
So Julian's saying the problem is that I'm a new developer. Well, that's not a problem. And I do not really know how to patch it myself. Is there a mechanism to inject that fix somehow without me having to do something?
So you can check Justin Y's stuff. It's pretty good. So he has a blog post about how to monkey patch Rails without making a mess, which this is something I was talking about. So monkey patching is kind of messy. and so you have to be careful about what you're doing. But it's a solution, right?
Yeah.
And so what he's saying is that he does not really know how to patch it myself. So do you mean write the code or apply the patch? Because the person here gave us the solution, like this is the patch that fixes it. So you could probably just copy this code. But you should understand what's going on. So this is only going to work on development, and then something like that. So we have to double check this code, but this code is a patch that you can use, right? And so you can follow. Maybe let me put this here in the chat. So so you can just use the code, and Ruby loads the Ruby file, like Rails loads the files. So if you have your app and you do, so there's a folder called /lib, or you can create on your Rails app, you can create a folder on app/lib. That folder, I'm pretty sure it gets auto-loaded. So any file that is there, any Ruby file gets auto-loaded. And so it would just apply the patch for you, right? So you don't need a gem for that. It's just a Ruby. So patching, the monkey patch is a Ruby feature, and Rails loads the files for you. And so you can use that to monkey patch. So there's no need for a gem for that. It's just kind of how it works. But check out the blog post from Justin, where he shows you how to monkey patch things, and maybe it's more. So
maybe that's actually a good exercise, Julian. You could try reading the guide from Justin Wise and trying to reproduce that one. Like try to understand
first what is a monkey patch.
For sure.
How does it work? Because it's also related to how Ruby loads classes, loads files, and how those pieces of code get applied. So how do you import a module, how you overwrite things. So this is kind of a Ruby, it's Ruby knowledge a little bit.
Yeah, and I don't know if you have someone in where you work to ask like for help. You can try reading and understanding and trying to implement yourself. And if you get stuck, ask for a colleague help. But that's great. I think it's a good learning opportunity.
Ash talked about, I think it was even before me. That's great. So 3 ways to monkey patch without making a mess. So it's kind of a pattern. That's what people usually do. So sometimes you can't wait for Rails to fix the bug, and you have to fix it yourself because it's a big problem. Or app, it's like a security issue, right? So you want to fix it as quickly as possible. And then you wait until Rails release a new version, and then you have to update the Rails version. But sometimes it's not feasible. You just have to fix it yourself. What else we have?
So config initializers, the name of the file. Would that be called after the defining for compile is called?
So
I think
initializers.
I'm
not sure if it's a good idea to put that on the initializers folder, because initializers are usually related to gems, initialization of things. So for example, if you have Redis, you can put that on the initializer and that gets executed first. So I'm not sure. I'll have to read more about monkey patching because I haven't done it a lot, to be honest. But I'm pretty sure if you put it on lib, it probably gets auto-loaded. But maybe Justin has a better way to do it.
I think we also need to read this document. Yeah, that's great. I
But I think it's
learned.
kind of good practice to have
Mm-hmm.
your patches somewhere in lib, because it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of, even if you call them from an initializer, you could do that as well. So
Mm-hmm.
you have an initializer and then you call the patch, but I don't.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like a good practice to me, but I could be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah. So it would help if there was a registry with the monkey pages though.
Yeah, you could implement something like that,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you have
Mm-hmm.
you have a little registry or a little class that handles all the monkey patches, like loads all the
Yeah.
monkey patches. They all live on lib or whatever. But sometimes the patches depend on themselves. Sometimes, which can be tricky. Yeah. So it's kind of tricky sometimes.
Yeah.
Like let's
Yeah.
say you have a monkey patch and another monkey patch that depends on that monkey
Yeah.
patch, so you have to like load things in sequence.
Yeah. That's yeah, you should definitely have a document for you and for the next developers for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Like for the next ones that join the app you're working on. Because those things can easily get forgotten. Even if you apply one, you can forget it. And yeah, it's easy to get lost in translation, let's say.
Yeah, this person here is an initializer.
Hmm,
Interesting.
let's see what put
Hmm.
this file in initializer. Hmm.
This is not an option solution. I have the error. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so yeah, the person uses initializer to monkey patch.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. So maybe I was wrong. Monkey patching, it's amazing. The
Hmm.
problem, yeah, we
Put
can
them in
take
a
a look at
module.
that
Yeah.
because I don't know much about it, to be honest.
Conclusion.
But I see this a lot, like core extensions.
Hmm.
But this is usually related to like basic things,
Hmm.
like date times and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Bigger,
those are cool
please.
questions.
Yeah.
You can
Sorry, I think we
learn
have
more
to
about it.
always.
Hmm?
I think we have to always figure a way to fix the monitor display.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Okay, so that was you may not seem that it was a lot that we did, but you can definitely see that the reproduction steps are getting also lots of contribution, which is great. So let's maybe recap. I think
I
so.
think
We
he likes
find
the.
one about the MySQL adapter,
Mhm.
and we asked there a question to know if that's the solution, the direction that the team wants to move forward. That one looks promising. And that one is about the monkey patch that we have been talking. And Ash said that they are going to work on this and let us know how it goes. And then this started a discussion about where to put the monkey patch code. So that's
Mhm.
yeah, maybe we can even like ask on Twitter or something, and we can get some
Let's see if
contributions as well. But we
Go
would
is.
definitely read the resources as well.
I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Go Race doesn't have monkey
Yeah.
patch stuff.
All right, everyone. I think that was a good session. So the first issues, they already have either people working on them or they already have the pull requests. And then with the reproduction steps was also getting a little bit
Wow.
hard to find. Oh, someone replied. Was that to us?
No.
Oh,
But
okay.
we were looking at that, right?
That's the other issue.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah. So we will wait to see the other one that we commented on. Otherwise, we can try to reproduce the one from the monkey patch as well, and maybe Ash, you can share your results next week. And I don't know if you would like to come in here and we can do like a pair programming, I don't know. I'm okay with that, but I know that not everyone feels comfortable doing this. So let us know.
Mhm.
And yeah, so let us know if there is any other ending comments, questions. Let us know what was the highlight of this session. Just like you, we're also learning. Like we also don't know some of the questions, but we are happy to go and figure them out and learn together.
Yeah, and it goes to show that if you're getting started with Rails, you have to figure stuff out. It's kind of
Yeah.
a requirement. So yeah, we're just figuring what to work on, right?
Yeah.
And waiting. There's a lot of waiting.
A lot of waiting. Yes, I think that might be something.
Yeah, but it's a good thing we do this every week.
Yeah, that's the
Because
good
then
thing.
we can wait until someone replies. It's not too
Yeah.
bad.
Thank you, Charles. You rock. Thanks for the good questions, and Julian as well. Ash, thanks for
Jumping in,
the
helping.
issue. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks everyone. That's super great. Nice to see you, and yeah, have a good rest of your weekend. Thanks for being here with us, and see you next week then.
Yeah. Thank you so much. See you next time.
Bye bye.